Hey everybody, it's Miguel from WaveForm Tuning here with another customer interview. But it's kind of a weird one because it's like two people at the same time. I told you, the repeat customer. And then, oh wait, other side. Luke!
Yeah, what's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up?
So Ian did a couple new changes. C10, put the Karma's back. This thing's rock. He's gonna put out some crazy mid bass. What else? That was it.
That was it?
That was it.
Quick retune.
Quick retune, and now he's happy. Yo, sticks to me. How is it?
Unbelievable.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Y'all gotta listen to it. I don't remember who it's by. Sticks to me. Listen to it. But he's about to head out. He's about to head home. So I just want to do a quick video saying, yeah, with this one we got done. And then we'll have a video with this boy here later on.
We got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, just a couple things. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, everybody. So Ian's now gone. That was the last thing. With my terrible editing skills, you'll see that nice little transition. But it is 11:13 p.m. We got some dinner. And we're here to shoot a quick, I guess, customer interview.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people already know Luke's truck. Does it have a name yet?
It does not.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, maybe sometime you'll
In
think
progress.
of it. Yeah, I know Bradley will love that.
We'll call it Gray Junior.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm not going to show too much of the truck in terms of like your old install. Everyone knows.
Yeah, I'll keep it super high level.
The mids and tweets.
Yeah.
But let's work on your new thing. So you go that side, I go this side, and let's take a look.
All right. How's the lighting? Should I prove?
It's pretty good so
Okay.
far.
All right. So welcome, guys. Super high level 2021. My name's Luke Ouellet. This is my
With a
20.
Ouellet.
Ouellet.
Everyone always calls you
Ouellet.
Ouellet.
Yeah, because they see the O, but the pronunciation is Ouellet. It's
Ouellet.
a French-Canadian, Quebecois name.
Okay.
But this is my 2021 GMC Sierra AT4, shipped non-Bose, which is the whole reason for me getting into car audio as an adult. That's a whole other story for a whole other day. But
So we should be thanking Bose then.
what's that?
So we should be thanking Bose.
Should be thanking COVID for not shipping Bose trucks in 2021, and yeah, it sent me down a very deep rabbit hole.
Nice.
Which this is the result of said rabbit hole. But yeah, so high level in the truck. Front stage has got Accuton C30 AM, C100 AM tweeters in mid ranges, in pillars that were graciously fabricated by Nick Apostola and Matt Kim. And those have always been a staple of the truck for since January 2023. They perform well. There's not really been a lot of opportunity to change that or reason to change that. And this spring I saw it after a year of competition last year and a bunch of feedback from various judges, people that I trust with good ears, including the man behind the camera. That 200 hertz down was always a problem in my truck, always highlighted itself. I was fortunate to have a Pete by Peter, and he had definitely made some big improvements on what was here, but the issues that I was having were install related. Yeah. It was not equipment. It was not something that I needed to inherently replace with something more expensive. So those issues were front sub was very easy to localize. Mm-hmm. I was mid-bass indoors, which you can have great success. I'll be the first one to preach that. But I was searching for that upper echelon of clean mid-bass and heard a few cars. And then most importantly, Miguel's Gray. I was down in Florida and we were doing some work, which is the last time you guys saw us together.
Just a little bit of work.
And that car catalyzed my wanting to have better bass. That car does other things exceptionally well, but I knew that my biggest contrast in terms of opportunity was 200 hertz down, and so I decided to make a big change to everything that was related to those frequencies.
Yeah.
So starting at the upper end of that was mid bass. So I knew that I wanted to make a couple changes with front sub, but I knew that I wanted to take my mid bass out of the doors, both from a location and a resonance standpoint, is that I've done a tremendous amount of sound deadening to these doors. They are rock solid. And there's still energy that transfers that is hard to eliminate and not draw attention to itself, regardless of how well they're sound treated. And so I know that I needed to move my mid bass, so what that was going to mean kicks or sealed door enclosures. And I really was not interested in the door enclosure. I didn't want to cut up my door cards, and I just saw that as being more work than sealed kicks. IB kicks are actually relatively possible in here, but I hate IB kicks, specifically for the noise they make outside of the vehicle. I don't think they're a very reasonable thing. If you live in the middle of a field, sure, but anytime you go next to anybody and you listen to a car that has IB kicks, it's annoying. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I can't stand it. It's like playing 95 dB from 15 feet away from it, and you're trying to have a conversation or compete or judge next to it. It's just really aggressive, not for me. I didn't want to cut up my firewall, and I just didn't see the need for it. There was going to be great success with sealed kicks. So sealed kicks it is. And what I have, because I was going to be fitting a front sub still in my passenger footwell, is this is a combination. So it's a front firing front subwoofer in its own sealed chamber, and tucked inside of here.
Can you guys see? Let's see.
There we go. Yep, you can see the Purify 6.5 that is in its own sealed enclosure.
Yep.
And yeah, very complicated to build, but it killed two birds with one stone. So one, front sub, we'll talk about in a second about how firing at the firewall has its advantages, and why I decided to make that change. But I knew that it was going to be a snug fit, but thankfully it's a truck in America, so we have fairly good room to make it happen. But we were able to get
the America part, huh?
It's
we can't do that with no Toyota Hilux.
no. So these have it's a little over 0.2 cubic feet, 5.5 or 6 liters for everybody else in the world for the mid bass, and then 0.45 for the Illusion C10 in its own enclosure.
Which is more than enough for that front sub.
Absolutely. It's a very, very friendly sub to work with in very small enclosures, and it just performs exceptionally well. Like, it'll do really good in 0.7, does really well in 0.35. There's a few subs that do that, but the C10 does that and sounds incredible.
Yeah.
So mid bass moved to sealed kicks, and you'll see on the driver's side is a completely different orientation, but there's also a sealed kick in the driver's side. So what I did is a little bit of testing beforehand. I actually had some, get a better impression there. Yeah. Is I tested a bunch of locations relative to what I could successfully fabricate. And so there's 3 different locations I tested in orientations on the passenger side, and there's 2 on the driver's side. And what I noticed as a trend in both cases was the further forward that I pushed the mid bass, the better the native frequency response was, and that I was removing the cancellation that you typically see in a driver's side door in that 140 to 160 region.
In this
that
truck, yeah,
you just can't EQ out, and you shouldn't EQ out. But that went away. So now my native response, and Miguel can chime in on a little bit later as the tune, but it was
really good.
Yeah, it's
really
basically
good, especially for a truck. Yeah, 100%.
It's still narrow. Don't get me wrong. But these are successfully, really with not a ton of work to make the target curve work, are playing 250.
All the way up to 250.
Yeah, 250 from 85.
Yeah, 85 to 250.
And they're awesome.
They're doing great.
Yeah, we
purifiers
managed to
are good.
we managed to hit the pressed grill from X-Max. So I will be making a new pressed grill for the driver's side.
We have yet been able to reach X-Max on the purifiers, but I think it's because we were afraid because of that grill noise. We were like, "What just happened?" It's just a grill, guys.
Yeah.
We're fine. Nothing's broken yet.
They have 10 millimeters of X-Max, which is a lot for a 6.5.
Yes.
And we were exercising that, but
yeah, all the I guess I'll just turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
All the kind of rumors or people saying that these purifiers sound like 7s or 9s. Yeah, they do. They do. They're awesome. They're very impressive, to say at the least. And they're actually not as big as the internet makes it seem. Like, they're only like 3 inches deep. Like,
Focal K2, honestly, the Karma Allure is like kind of the same you're dealing with the same type of impact in terms of depth and basket size.
Something crazy.
But they do photograph a particular way that makes the magnet and the depth look huge. But in
It
reality,
also makes the surround look like it's a mountain.
That too.
And like when you look at it in person, it's almost like completely like flush, like any other surround would be. I was like, this really isn't that crazy.
Yeah, they really like. Besides, like they're definitely on my driver's side because of the native shapes of the firewall. Like working with a 3.5-inch deep speaker has its challenges, but that's not the Purify's fault. That's just the nature of getting a 6.5 that was going to keep up and perform like my 8s used to in terms of cone area, and keep up with the rest of the system that is capable of a lot of clean output. And the Purifies have definitely fit the bill. I think I'm really happy with them.
No, they're great. I'll tell you what, like I cannot imagine the 8s. Like they just must be ridiculous.
Oh yeah, like I'm very. I know Eric is going to bring his car to Exponent and a few other events, and he's got.
He has the 10s, right? The subs.
He'll have the 10 subs. He's got the 8s in the floors, and he also has the 6.5 mids and kicks. So that thing should kick like a mule.
Yeah.
if it's tuned right, but so then that's mid bass. Huge improvement. Probably when I first did this upgrade a few weeks ago, and I threw a very coarse tune on it. Out of the 3 things that changed, which were mid bass, front sub orientation, and IB rear sub.
Actually, hold up. Before you say that, you want to talk about the rear sub?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. You're gonna have to wait for what he was gonna say next. But you guys don't even know what he did.
So,
Well, probably most of you do.
I'll grab the light here.
Yeah.
So, the other big part of the project was
This little baby sub right here.
just this tiny little thing in here.
Tell you what, you and Mark Bruno like small subs.
There seems to be a trend going on.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Sub bass, truck bass has a stigma around it that it's really hard to get good, believable, natural sounding bass in a truck. And it's true, it is tough. The cabin shape, lengths, pathways, how close subs are to you. I've tried sealed 12s, downfiring 12s. Granted, that was a long time ago with the JL Stealth Box, but kind of exhausted what I felt were the sealed solutions, and decided that, again, this is a catalyst of going to listen to Miguel's car that completely changed the way that I thought bass, or what is capable in a car in terms of bass. And it took away my reservations about cutting a hole in my truck, because I was like, I need this. Like, it's not that I can't enjoy music without it, but now I'm a person that once I hear a new ceiling, that's my new target. And the way that your car presents bass, one, it's extremely linear regardless of like, and to me that is more as much of a compliment about its low level volume performance as it is its high level volume performance. And Miguel has replicated that here using this Acoustic Elegance IB18 AU, and then this is also the Apollo version. It's 4 ohm. Shout out to Steve Wigner, who without him this would not have been possible.
Steve's a man.
He is a good human. And so
Only
we set to
because of sub.
What's
That's
that?
it. That's the only reason a good human, because that one sub. That's it, Steve. That's all Luke thinks.
He wait till you see what he's got coming this year. He's got some gnarly stuff. He's just as crazy as all of us.
Oh, Steve's there to just not only hurt feelings, he's willing just to like hurt people in general. But he's cooking up
with his tennis shorts and a big old smile on his face. But we so like we moved on from sealed solutions. Like, I'm going IB. I got the piece for it. I did a bunch of testing. I was like, all right, I can get enough cone area. It's 53% SD is what the actual opening is relative to cone area. And it vents directly below the cone through the floor. It's obviously got the hydrophobic mesh and protective pieces, so no moisture, dirt, or anything comes through, but air is able to travel out, moisture is not. And yeah, I thought it was really good before. Like, I knew that it had made a vastly tremendous difference in both extension and just how like bass is no longer this like, it does really well here, but it doesn't really do well here. it now is like, this is the most invisible speaker I think in the whole system.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy to say about an 18 in a basically tiny little cabin of a truck. But it is awesome. It's like, this is probably the most fun, but the most invisible part of the build. It's just like when you lay into it, it's, we were listening to some dubstep earlier with just the driver's door open, and like you can watch my shirt just start to flutter. And
Moving a lot of air.
Yeah, it's that's the fun part of a little cabin, is that one single 18 can make a lot of people really happy.
Yeah.
Even bass heads. But this has been, between the sub, the install, we moved it to the passenger side to be as far away from the driver's seat as possible, better loading, try to reduce as much of the tactile feedback that gets transferred. Inherently, when you get to whatever, 105 dB plus, whatever, yeah, you're going to start to feel this in the back of the seat. The bass still absolutely is anchored on the dash, but inherently you're just going to feel the pressure and some of the energy transfer through the floor into the seat. That is probably the biggest disadvantage of a truck and having a sub this close to the seat. But one thing I really like that I really don't kind of talk about is that the storage that I got back in this truck, even though it's literally empty because I'm so scared of putting anything in it because I don't want it to rattle. But
because it used to be a box, right?
Yeah, it was like I took this OEM storage out of my truck the first week I ever owned it, and it hasn't been back. So this is now, I've had it for 3.5 years. I put it back in, so now like when I go on trips, yes, like this, the passenger seat is all the way back right now just because we've been in and out of the truck. But for daily driving, you can absolutely still use this seat. Really doesn't project that much, and I can count on one hand the amount of times I've had rear passengers in this truck. I got 2 little dogs; they occupy the back, and they're perfectly happy sitting in their dog beds on top of the seat. So, but it gives me back some storage, good, like a lot more practicality with the truck, honestly. Even though, yeah, it's got an 18, but the other side of the truck is like so much more useful for me now. But yeah, those are the major changes. The 200 hertz down, each of the install pieces and components had a targeted reason of why. And these were kind of things that I've been thinking about for a long time because I knew they were the gateway of hopefully taking my truck out of what, I don't know, I feel like trucks as a whole is always fighting an uphill battle of what people expect in terms of SQ, that you'll never achieve the same type of presentation as you will in a traditional car. And there is still some acoustic things that absolutely exist in a truck.
It's been tactile.
Yeah.
Feel.
But what Miguel has achieved in the tune, mixed with the changes in the install, we listened to Bird on the Wire, and within 20 seconds, Miguel knew. He was like, "You need to come listen." And within the first 20 seconds of that, I literally got emotional over the staging because I just never had heard the car present itself that way, and it made me. That like this problem, this kind of stigma of truck of saying that it's not capable, like just wash that away. And I was just so excited that this had hit and gone beyond my expectations of what I expected the changes to do. I was more of just like, okay, stuff is just going to sound easier, natural, a little more effortless, but the staging is still going to be the staging, and the imaging is going to be the imaging, and I'm just going to have better resolution, and it's going to sound cleaner from 200 hertz down. It's so much, and we'll talk about the tune being a lot of the factor of some of the other changes that exist with the top end and the presentation. But yeah, I've been extremely happy. There's been a lot of great advice that I've heeded from a bunch of different people. But I know Miguel and I, when we spent some time in Florida together, went through a lot of this and talked through a lot of why and
how
exactly. It's like it was we went through a lot of the problem solving just in conversation and kind of came up with our targets, and I came back from Florida just like invigorated to
you were definitely on the move, because a big thing that we were, after you heard Gray and you were just like, how do I get this bass? I'm like, and I hate to say it, and I told you that, I was like, dude, I hate to say it because like typically I'm the opposite, but I'm like, you have to move your mid bass. It's like in that truck, if you keep them there, you're gonna like just like strong arm yourself. It's not moving. It's not gonna do anything. It's just this truck.
Yep.
And then I was like, please flip that sub around, face it the correct way. That way it can just like disappear and load better. Because again, at the end of the day, it is just a C10. And if anyone's ever held a C10, they weigh next to nothing. There's not much to that sub in terms of like.
It weighs pretty close to what a Purify 6.5 does.
Yeah. And it's like, honestly, I feel like the C10 weighs less than the Purify does in like a weird way. Like there's not much to it. And I was like, any little help we can give it, if you want to achieve impact and dynamics, almost regardless of volume, then it needs its help. And once he did that, I mean, it definitely made a huge difference. And then he was like, I want buttery end bass, like bottom end, like true subsonics in a truck. I'm like, well, there's two ways to do it. Cut a hole or cut a hole back here. And he did not want to budge on that one.
No, blow through was never going to happen.
So we figured it out here. Yeah. And I'm glad, because it was like about a month and a half of me and you going back and forth over messaging, texts, phone calls, being like, hey, dude, I'm doing the audio mobile 12s. I'm like, great, but you have the audio frogs, and those are like same. So like, why are you doing that? He's like, oh no, like I've heard they're gonna be better. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for this.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I don't know. And then like 2 days later, you're like, hey, Steve sending me something. And I was like, what's he sending you? He's like, at 18. He's like, oh, but that's for Brooks' car. It's not for my truck. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in Luke fashion, here it is.
It is. I was going to put it in an open baffle in my living room and be like, all right, we'll have some fun and just rattle my 1930s house all apart. Yeah, and then I don't know. There's just like some fire that got lit, and I committed to. I wasn't unsure if I was going to keep the truck for another like more than a couple of years, but with my new job, my commute is much less, so my miles are coming way down on my truck. And I've invested so many. There's probably 1,500 hours of install hours, anyways, into this truck, that I owe it to this truck and the effort I put into it so far to see it to its full potential.
For sure.
And so I knew the truck was going to stay for another at least 3 to 4 years in my hands. So let's maximize the potential now and not wait any longer. And
we did that.
We did it.
Seems like it. I'm going to real quick run down the rest of your system. Then we can hop in this driver's seat. You can drive me in the passenger. We can continue talking. But real quick, he has a rear fill back here, pointed forward. Why exactly? I don't know. I guess he just wanted to point forward. It doesn't really matter. It's rear fill at the end of the day. And then Scony Pros and a very cheap DSP. Correct?
Yeah, there's a little piece of junk under there.
Oh, there it is. This thing. I don't know why he has this, dude. I've been trying to get something better.
I heard the Dayton is coming out with the new 408.
That's the one, dude. You need to get the old school Alpine.
Oh, I was actually thinking the Rockford DSR1. That was getting me pretty hot and bothered.
No, that's the good one. And then that's kind of like your truck in a very quick nutshell. Mm-hmm. Oh, finally convinced you to get rid of your DAP.
Yes.
And we have an iPad.
I do.
So,
yeah.
And you made it connect so you can still use most of your factory controls, but this is where the iPad lives.
Yeah, so we recently...
Can't show that around here, buddy.
What's that? Oh.
Your password.
Oh. I'll be making a new password. It's on Touch ID. Miguel will blur that out in his editing. I'll make sure of that. I'm just kidding. But recently changed, so I've been using a FIO M11 Plus. Great sounding DAP. Like FIO makes a great product, but I was kind of tired of the interface. Apple ID. By the time I scaled up the font to me being able to actually see it, especially while driving, like I'm seeing like 3 songs at a time while I'm trying to scroll. It just became more cumbersome than convenience. Yeah. Like I had gotten it originally because I wanted an offline source, especially for competitions and shows, that I didn't have to have my phone be tied up in the vehicle for judging or demos. But the FIO just became to be too annoying on my day-to-day use that was now I was like, okay, I'm going to make a change to something that is a lot friendlier, and it integrates better in my truck in terms of overall controls, and it acts just like my phone. So I have the ability to tie my phone in just as equally as I do this iPad, so I upgraded to an iPad mini. It runs through an SMSL PO100 Pro, super popular interface, just the USB bridge that converts the USB-C over to digital coax into the racks. But now it is a way friendlier interface to use. It ties Bluetooth into my truck, so for like things like MassQ, where interfacing and it's becoming more important in the other orgs is,
as it should be.
yeah, absolutely. I think a good integration is, and safe integration and operation is a thing. So now my head unit and my dash all display song information, with the exception of volume control, which honestly my conductor is in the most convenient location here in the center. Because as you're driving, like obviously I'm passenger side, but this is a very natural position when you're sitting in the driver's seat or just passively listening. But now you have the ability to use steering wheel, track navigation. You have the ability, the iPad is right in front of you. You can scan through songs, choose songs. It's so much nicer. I've only had it for 2 days, and it is 10x better than having a little DAP, unless you're using the DAP that Miguel brought here, which is the size of my iPad. And I don't know how you can anchor that thing. That thing would be a missile in an accident. It's incredible, but it's a brick.
DAPs are for headphones.
Yeah, this is 10 times. It sounds like literally, if you could blind A/B test this, I'll give you 10 grand if you can tell the difference between the iPad and the FIO. Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, ABX test. You got to have the X.
Oh, AB, is that blind?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Where like the computer will fully randomize the third option, so you don't know which one it is.
Oh,
at all.
Good call.
ABX testing.
So, yeah, the iPad is a really nice convenience, and also just, I don't know, it's like I use it more in my day-to-day life. It's literally on a magnetic mount. Boom, I got my source with me. So that's my previous FIO mount. So literally just mount that. Boom, I got a floating source. Obviously, there's no wires. I got to wire some power because it's new, and I want to do a nice laptop charger that gives it 65 watts. But yeah, that was another good Miguel influence that I saw when we were just listening to music. We were operating his iPad in his car. I know he uses his phone for the most part, but still, yeah, this has just been like a really, really nice upgrade. I'll integrate it maybe into the dash and to something nicer, but even just day to day on the magnetic mount is like
a lot better.
Quality of life is way up.
Oh, and at the end of the day, like I've been telling people, it's not a sonic advantage.
No.
And even if by some off the wall chance you do hear that difference, it's not enough to justify the lack of controls and just like the usability aspect of it. And the only reason you could possibly ever in the world tell a difference if you just full back to back with like 0 breaks in between. If you have any breaks, you're gonna lose that memory because to me they're identical. But just in case people want to say it's not.
Yeah, I'm a bits or bits person that it's pretty hard in a Apple iPad level of quality of production, FIO, DAP level production that you're going to tell me that the way that they translate and transport digital bits, one is doing it somehow better than the other.
Ones and zeros at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's like we're not talking analog going through DACs and cards and RCAs. We're talking straight digital. The convenience of this, there's no sacrifice in SQ, but a huge quality of life improvement. Obviously, I wish I could have full integration into my car, but non-Bose GM folks are shit out of luck. So it took them 6 years, because 2019 was when the first the new gen of these came out, and it took until a month ago for PAC and Nav TV to finally release their interfaces for the Bose trucks, which they've been selling like hotcakes because it's such a convenience. But
well, let's switch seats. I'll go on the passenger, go on the driver, and then you said you want to ask me some questions. So let's do that. For power supply. All right, y'all. I'm gonna switch the camera around. All right, so we're laughing because we took forever to balance his phone on the center of your dash. So yeah.
Welcome to the inside.
Dude, it's super cool seeing you with like your business shirt on and you on business shirt on.
I know.
Proud of you, bro. You're doing good.
Making some waves.
Doing something.
Pun intended.
Oh, snap. I didn't even catch that. I'm way too tired, dude. I've been up since 3 in the morning.
I know. You literally traveled up here today and then did all this today. So, shall we talk tune?
Yeah, let's do it. So we finished off with you did all the changes. We spoke a little bit about staging and whatnot. So kind of just like, well, one, why did you choose me? That's one thing I always ask people because I just want to know. There's so many other tuners. Why me? And then like, what was your experience throughout it? I tried to treat you as much as a customer as I would like anyone else, but it's kind of hard because you're also a friend, so I'm kind of like a lot more like nonchalant with you. But
there was still a very much a level of professionalism, and like we were able to kind of separate work mode and fun mode and have them coexist. But so choosing you, I think me, maybe a couple of others. I've had the opportunity to have this truck tuned in various phases of install. I think with the exception of maybe like Brian Mitchell and the Myers brothers, I think everybody else who has a big reputation for tuning has tuned this vehicle. And so it gives me a little bit of unique perspective on process, outcome, relative improvements is something like, it's about the only way that any sort of comparative analysis, because they've all been in different stages of the truck, but there's still a who has extracted more potential from where it was to where it went. And
well, it seems like, and sorry to interrupt, but it seems like for at least for the most part, everyone has tuned the same mid-range and tweet.
That's true.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's your bottom end that has changed more recently.
Correct. Yeah. Nick was probably the only one that touched this truck pre-Accuton. And yeah, that was, wow, I was an infant in SQ at those stages. So like for me to, I can't offer too much insight there, but post, yeah, the basically the top end of this truck has maintained very, very stable. But what led me to you is we've definitely have developed a friendship over the past year in this, and it's like, and I think we share a lot of from like how we carry ourselves, how we conduct business, our approach to problem solving. There's a lot of commonalities that you and I share, and when we got to work together in Florida, it really put proof in the pudding of watching, both being able to, one, hear the result of your tuning, but also to watch your tuning process. I was very fortunate to kind of be over your shoulder and watch you tune your car and watch the process. I tune myself, so call myself an intermediate tuner. And
I mean, your truck sounded good when I got here.
I appreciate that. So I have an understanding of watching somebody tune and being, without having them tell me, be able to follow, I'm going to say, a lion's share of the steps. And so when I was able to watch you, it was like, okay, this is a science. This is a proven
method
that has like been worked on, but there's a standard operating procedure kind of guiding over this, that so as you evolve, it's obviously become more and more honed, and you tuned your car from soup to nuts to an executive level performance in 90 minutes, not even. And
actually, I think that one took us a little longer.
Yeah, it was also 1:30 a.m.
Yeah, I think that one actually took like an hour and a half, but we were doing other things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like once we actually got to sit down and like just like break building for like half a second and just like actually start tuning, yeah, it took me about like an hour and a half.
And
what'd you say, 90 minutes or 60 minutes?
It was like an hour and change. It was like. And I was also interrupting him, asking questions of like, why are you doing this? And Miguel's, he was an open book with me. So
of course. I mean, I try to be an open book with anyone. Like, I don't care. I'll tell you my secrets or secret. There's no secret to it. It's very simple.
Yeah. After I heard that, it was no questions that this man needs to be sitting in the driver's seat of this truck.
Thanks, dude.
Working this, and I don't know if you can see right here.
Oh yeah.
There's a little new logo on the truck. I am not one to put anything on my truck. The only other sticker that's on my truck is, I'm not trying to like say that because I have his sticker on the truck that boom. But I really believe in what just occurred in front of my eyes into my ears today, and I believed it in Florida, and came up here and did the same thing to my truck, and brought it to a level that was higher than I expected, and yeah, I was fortunate to be able to kind of have to witness and do that. But anybody who has heard one of your vehicles, I would hope they would agree, or have received a tune from you. I think anybody who's had the fortunate experience to work with you and let them tune their car feels the same way I do about that. This is it's so confidence inspiring. Again, watching your process, again, being able to ask questions and learn a lot about my vehicle. That, like, I'm a person that really cares about that learning experience, and like we were just kind of watching the EQ just kind of, I don't know, like fall into place. It was like, okay, the install is
the install's right. So when I did the auto EQ, like things were like aligning, and not auto EQ like Helix. I use Rue's auto EQ feature. I know the parameters I need to set for it to do what I want it to do, and then I always look over the EQ, filter tab, and you saw me do that to every single one. Just make sure the filters make sense or make adjustments that just, to me, blatantly just like, why did you choose these filters? AI, let me go do it my way, which I know works better with phase coherence, if you will. Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, it was just like, let it do its job, import it. That's why I love Helix. It just makes my life so much easier, especially just like the way you import. Like, you don't gotta like click a tab or do nothing. You literally just click the copy.
Here and all
You don't gotta do
that.
nothing. You literally just click the copy button on Rue. A pop-up pops up on the Helix. You click what band you want to start. I always start at 3 for the tone control, and then just
shout out
enter.
to Nick for making that happen with Helix.
Yeah, that is
the amount of like labor saved with just that single feature alone is
it's huge.
It's a godsend.
Instead of like clicking R, I, and then finding it, it's just copy paste, import it, and just rinse and repeat throughout the entire system. And then like we slowed down a little bit for the phase, just so I could like show you how I was doing it. One, I'm looking at how I'm reading, and you saw my process from like middle up, down, and kind of just like, and I tell all my customers this, and honestly, for the most part, most of them take advantage of it. And I'm like, hey, while I'm there, please sit next to me if you want to learn. I'll answer any questions you have to the best of my abilities. And if I don't know the answer, I probably know someone that does. So I'll just reach out, But yeah, that's kind of like another thing that I provide, if you will. It's just like that teaching opportunity without you paying anything extra. It's just like, hey, dude, if you want to learn, I'm doing my process in front of you.
Yep.
Ask away.
Like that in and of itself, like besides the fact that you're getting an insane tune, like that's very, very generous. And yeah, I think everybody who's really serious hobbyist about this, like just being able to, like, whether you understand how the tuning process works, but the feedback that, like, if Miguel is working through something and you're like, hey, like, how does my mid bass look to you? Can you give me feedback, like based on how the tuning process is going? Can you provide insight to either improvement or why it's acting a certain way? And that's really invaluable. I think people undervalue that part of it. If you want to continue to improve, that this process is a really accessible, undervalued part of what you sell as a product and a tuning service is. It's beyond just a tuning service to me. So there's a respect and understanding of making the vehicle kind of perform to its utmost potential, but also taking into account personal preference. And like, I'm a person that is going to sit for a week with this and go through a catalog of music and make some notes, and if there's anything that stands out to me, because right now it's a no notes situation and I just want to absorb. It's like it's so different than anything I've had. That but continually through the process, you ask me, it's like, all right, what are you hearing? Like, is there something that sticks out? Like and that's important. Like, you need to take that into account. This isn't just I'm giving you a tune. This is how it should sound. This is how I like it to sound. You're gonna like it because I like it.
No, at the end of the day, like, I use my ears, but it's your vehicle. It's not mine. Like, I make my vehicle the way I want it to sound because it's my car. And I'm not gonna stop you from enjoying your truck to its fullest potential for you, just because I don't want to do something. Like, if anyone has ever heard some of my tunes, I've had images skewed all the way to the left before. That's where the customer wanted it. And I mean, I can make it center perfectly, but that's what they wanted. And if that makes them happy, I'm happy.
Exactly.
I don't want them. I don't want other people to hear that truck and be like, "Oh, the center is perfect," but for him, he's like, "Yeah, but it's not perfect for me." It's their vehicle. So yeah, that's why I'm constantly asking, like, "What do you think?" Because we can hear it a little differently. But at least for now, you said no changes, so no changes it is.
For sure. We did some. We're trying. Or to me, I've been exploring like some different ways of tone control versus dynamic EQ, and I think you
set up your dynamic EQ correctly now.
Yeah,
so that scales up and down appropriately.
It's really, really, really nice, especially with the Accutons that are really known for linearity at any volume. And there's definitely other speakers beyond the Accutons that do play cleanly regardless of volume, but generally when you're like, if you're pushing 115, 20 dB, you're going to want the top end to back down.
A little bit, yeah. You need to gradually go down.
And the dynamic EQ is freaking awesome for that. That's like, I really like tone control. I still think there's a time and a place for it depending on how you use your vehicle, or type of vehicle, like how you commute. Do you drive highway a lot? Like to me, the way that this dynamic EQ is set up is very, very friendly, because my truck doesn't get a ton louder on the road as it does versus parked. So dynamic EQ is a really good candidate for it. I think if you have a really, really loud vehicle, maybe tone control has its, or a different type of preset with dynamic EQ can have its place. But
which is what I think I'm going to do for you, is give you a little shelf where my ride starts at, and just bump it up a little bit for daily driving, just in case you're going over, rough terrain or, highway. You at least have a little extra. Yeah. Honestly, with the tone control, because with the Helix / Brax, it's one or the other. You can't have a preset with tone control or a preset with RTC. That's dynamic EQ, RTC for Helix Brax. So you have to pick your poison. Either do you want the ability to adjust it on the fly, like with your own preferences, or let the parameters that you set dictate that. When your truck is dialed into this level, your vehicle, it almost seems like most people always prefer the dynamic EQ. Because, I ask them and they're always like, let's just do dynamic EQ because it's already at such a high level. There's not much that needs to be adjusted. They rather just let the car be the car and have one knob just turn up and down versus
100%
clicking.
There's enough menus in my conductor.
Yeah.
It's like,
and honestly, another thing with the tone control is like, a lot of times I was starting to turn off the subwoofer volume control to just remove one other menu.
For a long time I did. I still have it in here. I put it back in when I changed 200 hertz down just to hear the effects of pulling down, just because I had it set so for a little bit that the front sub was not on the combo sub control, because if you label it front sub, it goes in with the sub control volume. So I had it as something else, and it was a tool for me to maybe understand the effects of how things were going. But usually I don't like having sub volume if I have tone control. Because it just seems like
it just makes it so nice having wherever that shelf you set it at. Typically I set it right at my ride, so it's like my mid bass, my
maintains all those relationships.
Just
up
everything
and down.
is just keeps the same phase. It's just louder in volume. Yeah. So you don't all of a sudden have 6 dB on a subwoofer where your mid bass is still at 0. It's like at least for me, it's just like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, besides making a lot of noise. That's like.
And hey, if that's your cup of tea.
Yep. You let it rip.
Let it have it. Let her eat. Just set crossovers very safely and turn up the gains until your ears bleed and call it a day. Easy.
Today Miguel made me turn my mid bass gains up, but that was more of a convenience thing, not a lack of output. Well, I don't know, but it helped with output. There's so much output in this truck right now that my next project will be pulling my dash, because when we go to Miguel volumes, Luke's got some work to do.
Yeah. Well, now this is Luke's volume now.
Yeah, exactly. True. Touche.
I was actually afraid. I'm over here. Like we're heading out to dinner, and he's playing dubstep, and like that's one of the reasons why personally I haven't gotten Accutons, whatever.
Yeah.
It's because like I'm afraid of them. Like I'm just like because sometimes I want to have like the windows down. I'm just jamming out, and like now because of Nick's video, like I'm kind of like known to have like the loudest cue car. So like that's all people want. They're like, dude, like this thing sounds awesome, but what can it really do? And I just have to like whatever. And like the morale's like I'm not afraid of them. If they break, like whatever. But you were just keep going. I was just like scared. I'm like, please don't break, please don't break, because like these mids move.
They do have a
lot.
They exercise their X Max.
Yeah.
And they have like it. Honestly, they look almost no different. To me, I have much less fear about them because they've been crossed at like 185 acoustically for the past since July of last year. So they've almost been 8 months of. Like with my Few, it was a little louder, so like we were at levels that I've been at comfortably before at a much more aggressive crossover. I've never heard them distort. Like I know
there's no distortion to them.
They kind of just they're just gonna blow up.
Just like
the cone will shatter before they distort. I haven't found that limit yet.
Well, I feel like you do have a lot more volume than you did beforehand.
Oh, for sure.
And that's why I was just like, yo, that's starting to encroach like my car's level of loud. And like I'm not afraid of my stuff breaking because I know it won't break, but I'm like, if these break, that's gonna really suck. But it didn't. It just stayed together. So he's definitely having fun in volume. I've noticed that about almost every single one of my tunes. It's like people originally say like I don't listen to it loud, and then I'm done. And then they start realizing, like, oh, this doesn't hurt when I turn it up. And things stay linear. And all of a sudden, the volume goes from, like, 85 to 95 to well into the hundreds. And they're like, this is awesome. But, no, I do find it funny, like, kind of switching gears, going back to, like, the mids, like, how much yours move. And we were playing a song. I'm not going to release it yet. Well, not, like, it's not like I'm playing it.
Yeah.
I'm not an artist.
Like, isn't it the intro of this video?
No, no.
Okay.
Like the actual song. So for Aggieland demo, because I'm doing the demo.
Okay. All right.
That's gonna be one of my songs there. Okay. So for now we'll keep it quiet. But I played it in this truck and Ian Stinger because I just finished retuning that because he pretty much did almost the same thing you did, mid bass and front sub. He just kept the same rear sub. So I did a retune on that. And we heard this, and like these mids were just moving. And then I do it at Ian's at the same volume, if not louder, same exact tonality. Mids barely moving. I'm like, what is happening here?
And it's like a similar crossover, right?
Yeah. Similar everything. And it's like just the way they like present, or like just the way the speakers like can do what they're doing without moving versus what these do and how much they might have to move. There's nothing like one's better than the other. It's just interesting how they both sound the same and are doing the same things, but like how one speaker like doesn't really have to move, one moves a lot.
It's a like, especially with the white cones, like you absolutely, it highlights. It's like whoa.
Yeah.
And if you put them in sunlight and you play like stuff with really like especially toms and snare drums, it's like you can really watch that like excitement.
They are moving.
But yeah, Peter and I have had some conversations. I think he did some Porsche build.
What was the Taycan one?
I think it was the Taycan that has Accuton, the same setup, and he had done that just before tuning my truck last time, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we those are crossed at 180 in that Porsche," and I did it, so I literally couldn't. I was playing it so loud that I was trying to scream at the person next to me, because it was a nav TV with it was at volume 35, whatever the max volume is, through nav TV through the system, and he says it was like excruciatingly loud, like nothing you would ever comfortably listen at, and they just were fine.
Yeah, they just took it.
And then when we tuned my truck at 185, I think acoustic crossover, and I was like literally for the first month and a half, I barely played like above 75 or 80% volume because I was so scared too. And then eventually just started like,
Just keep
screw it. I'm just like, they're either going to break or they're not going to break.
Yeah.
And since then, so I have like a little bit less reservation, but I think you've also now moved me to a different output possibility.
Dude, you're pretty loud right now. Like surprisingly, and it just stays composed.
Yeah. I'm not a huge output monster, but like it's fun to reach for it. That's for sure.
Dude, that's just one of those things. Like I feel like people think I listen to my car that loud.
Oh no, yeah.
Like-
I hate that. That's like everybody is like always assuming that is.
Yeah, I was like, no,
Your car
that
is just a loud
is-
car. It's
My
it
car
just has the
is-
capability of going loud.
Like when you and I were listening for the majority, it was like 90 dB max.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was just like that's typically the way I listen. I don't listen loud. I like to save my ears, but
Same.
like I don't know. Every once in a while,
Oh yeah.
it's just fun. I just would be like, what can this thing do? Especially with that one track, it's like when you can just have that level of like dynamics and impact, and it's
Makes
just
you
like
blink.
yeah, and then but like it sounds real to a point. It's not like artificial. It's not like I just took the sub and mid bass and just yanked 100 hertz, you know, through like 150 and just added false
Yeah,
impact.
it's not like it's like you're taking the curve and like tilting it so
Yeah,
it's
no.
like it's just loud.
Yeah, it's just the same linear curve and just like yanking the volumes, like have fun.
Yeah. It is it's we'll have some tests over the next week.
Oh, yeah.
And I will probably have some work in the dash to do, but just upper right dash in this truck is got something that is inaccessible without removing it. Granted,
It's a small buzz, very small.
it's at like brutal, and it has to be something with like a really heavy kick bass in the 60 to 80 hertz range.
It's gonna find it.
But hey, that's part of this is you find the limit, go fix it, and then go find the new limit after that.
So I don't say needless to say. So your opinion is you're happy with the tune?
That would be an understatement.
Great. That's all I care about. I just want to make sure you're happy.
And before, because I know we probably have been talking for a while, but I
that's
have a
fine,
couple of questions.
Yeah, no, shoot,
for you.
I know we had some questions. Shoot.
What do you think was the most easiest thing about tuning this platform, most difficult thing about tuning this platform?
Platform being the truck or platform being what you've done to the
My
truck?
build.
Got you. Your build in particular. Your mids are almost a 1-to-1 ratio. I had to change the electrical just a little bit, but for the most part, like if I asked it, hey, play like 250, I think I ran down to like 220 to get 250 acoustically. It just like did it, no problem. And you know, when I apply the EQ work and I remeasure it, it was like a 1-for-1. And it was nice because you don't have to go in and like fix it. That means like you took care of the resonances, the rattles, anything that would interfere with that speaker. Because like that's what Rue's doing. Rue's saying in a perfect scenario, if you apply these filters, you will get this result. So if you apply those filters and you don't get that result, guess what? That's your car. Fix your install. And or apply more EQ. Sometimes, I mean, at the end of the day, we are in a car. So, like, even though you try to dent as much as you can, like, my car the same way, it's pretty close to a 1-for-1, which you saw me, you know, work on my car live. I can almost just, like, not ever touch any EQ bands myself, except for when I'm in the car doing manual adjustments. But on my tweeters, for some reason, I have to do it twice. It's just the way it is. Why the tweeter? I don't know. But it just is the way it is. And your truck was the same way. Like, your mids were great, mid bass were great, subs were great. The tweeter. And I think I had to run that 2 times. One with auto EQ and then another one with more manual adjustments for it to actually match my curve. And then hardest, honestly, dude, your truck was pretty easy. You know, EQ was easy. Phase was a piece of cake. Everything lined up exactly where it needed to. The only part that would have been tricky if I didn't know how to read phase was like when we turned the front sub on and it's like, hey, like this is a weird angle and why is it there? and how do I make that match my mid bass? But I mean, I do this so often, it took me half a second, and I realized what was happening. Then I got the rear sub and integrated the front stage to the mid bass, front stage to the front sub, and that was that. There wasn't nothing hard really about this truck. It was super easy. Honestly, I was more afraid of that 18, not because I couldn't control it, just because like it's a truck, you know, and like I've tuned so many trucks, and every single time, like the one thing you always notice in a truck is like, yo, there are subs behind you, like, and not in like you hear it, you know. I hate to be that person. It's like listening with my body, but like when I feel,
It's undeniable.
yeah, well, like when I feel it, or I hear like the actual woofer moving, it takes away from the illusion, you know, because that's all it is. A lot of, actually pretty much all of this that's happening, we described depth, width, layering, imaging, that's all the way we perceive it, because that's not what's actually, I mean, what's actually happening is two speakers are playing on opposite ends and some in the back, and they're all just hitting your ears at the exact same time. So your brain puts that together and says it belongs here. So anything that we touch or feel is going to give us clues and cues like, hey, actually, that's not true. It's not there. It's here, or it's there. So that's why, like, I feel like I'm always harping on this on every video, but like I tell people all the time, like, stop changing equipment, dead in the car, put a better install on, and let a professional tune it. Even if you think you're really good, why not have another second opinion?
Oh yeah,
You know, and it's like, you never know what someone else's process or they do can give you, you know, and you might learn something, or you might not, but at least at that point you'll have validation in your own. Like,
it's the lessons. It's as much this. I think this round, like pretty much all of my other previous tuning sessions, were educational in what opportunities were left in the truck.
yeah,
This was the first tune that I'm like, okay, I need to realize the potential of what I feel are the final changes, and what was needed to take this truck from whatever, we'll call it good to great.
yeah.
But
Sounds great to you.
thank
It
you.
really does.
No, but yeah, this tune was like, okay, I'm gonna like squeeze and keep squeezing, and then all of a sudden it was just like, I don't know, like we said, that bird on the wire, we were in for maybe 30 seconds each, and we knew that it was good.
Yeah, like I instantly know. I always play that song. I tell people constantly, "Bird on Wire," my first song I always play, and it's just because it will highlight a car, every issue in a car in the first 20 seconds. Just those initial toms. It's just like, if that doesn't sound right, and everything mid-range and below is wrong, that means the tweets are wrong. Like, it's just wrong. So that's why I play it. And then her voice should be more delicate and airy. And so, you know, like I say, it's just super easy to like diagnose a car. And when I heard those toms, I was like,
Dum, dum,
yes.
dum. And it was like,
Perfect.
yeah, it was, yeah, the linearity in the bass, your process through that is absolutely, like, it's as good at, I don't know, 50 dB as it is 110 dB. It's like, still, this just like, it's an invisible giant. Like that 18 in the back is just looming to like waiting to pressurize, and
Just never does.
yeah, and it just like when it shows up, it's on my like sitting on my dash, or the like the beginnings of my hood of like,
No, dude, that thing's all the way in Florida. Dude. You know how deep that is?
it was, yeah, like no in between by Supertramp has this like signature
yeah.
big bass drum drop that is kind of just in space. Yeah, it was very, very, like, that was kind of bone chilling to hear that hit the first time. But
And then Solar Sailor by in the Tron
Daft Punk,
album.
yeah.
But Daft Punk in the Tron album, that's always a mid bass killer, I call it. Just like lower end killer, like it will expose every issue any car has in like 0.2 of a second, and it's like, well, rest in pieces, or like who is it? It's Ian, rest in pepperonis. And I just like, there goes your mid bass. And in terms of just like, you're gonna launch them, but it's just like you're gonna notice every issue.
That and Way Down Deep, those two tracks.
Yeah.
Oh god, I hate Way Down Deep. It's like
one
I
of the
hate
first
it.
songs I played.
I know it is just so humbling for 99% of systems, and not just like my truck definitely we had to make some adjustments with it, but that's I think that's just that track is.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because like, we always talk about the process, but like the process was only halfway done when the RTA showed all the pretty lines making sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I hopped in the driver's seat after we were like, this is really good. And then I hopped in the driver's seat, you hopped in the back, and then you saw me for the next half an hour do all the by ear changes that needed to be done to take this truck to where it's at now. Because where it originally was when the tune was just the RTA, it was pretty good. But if it would have just ended there, I think very quickly you would have realized all the issues that I fixed by ear that needed to be fixed to make it, I don't know what you call it, more linear, musical. I guess this is what some people say, like, don't take the music away from it when you're tuning. It's just like, it's just certain things that like it needs to be fixed. And there's only one way that I know how to do it. And if you can, like, you physically, Luke, like if you can tell me a way that I can do everything I did by ear over RTA or spectrogram or anything, please let me know, because I will much rather just chill at home.
Unfortunately,
no, that's not true. I actually love traveling with y'all.
Sure. No, I would love to say that you could do that, but there is no way. And I consider myself to have a very, very strong install in terms of both resonance, locations, trying to take as much advantage of this vehicle as I possibly could have. And there is still, you can still make a list of like known issues that are in here that are just either cabin related, location related, just like driver's side mid bass is still a very, it's extremely delicate is in terms of how you have to tune it. It's like, it's sensitive to a few frequencies, and we even took it apart to make sure that things weren't leaking, and we made a couple of adjustments, just realized that, hey, that's just the nature of this enclosure and its location and how it acts in the truck. So we need to make some EQ adjustments. Stuff that absolutely does not show up on RTA.
Oh no, right now the RTA and that left mid bass is probably gonna look like who the Lord. It's gonna be everywhere. But it's the only way. And then the second you play band limiter pink doors or like sine wave generator, it picks it up, and without those cuts, it's only left mid bass. With those cuts, everything centers up where it should be. So it's like, I don't care at that point what the RTA says, and that's why I spent so long. Mark Bruno made a joke on that Facebook comment, but like, and now like, and all my other customers see it too, but like, you also got to see it firsthand. Like how meticulous I am with the RTA. Like, I'm not just like, oh, it's good enough. Audio EQ did good enough. No, like I am in there getting it to like, I'm trying to get it to like 1 dB max, plus or minus on the RTA, as close as I can, and then that's it for it. Like, I'm not paying attention to it no more. Like, once I'm done with that and my RTA looks beautiful.
The mic is gone. Your RTA is done.
Yeah, after that, the mics don't mean anything to me. Very rarely will I even look at the RTA, because for the most part, my RTA matches my curve, as you saw in your truck, to a T. I mean, maybe I had a plus or minus 1 dB, 1.5 dB, if that. I don't even think if that. I think it was more like half a dB. I got it so close. Nah, I'll be more realistic. I say plus or minus 1 dB. And what am I supposed to look at more in the RTA? The RTA is useless to me now. It did everything it could do.
It's like, it brings you your baseline.
Yeah.
That you're used, that you have an expectation of what it should sound like.
Yeah.
But there's a tremendous difference in, like, even what I heard. Just there's all the little minutia, the sum of all the little parts and all the little adjustments do make a big difference. Expecting that you can run from 200 to 20K flat and never touch it after you tune it to that is unrealistic unless you're sitting in a home room, perfect rectangle or square. Then yeah, sure, absolutely let that rip. But in a
Probably
car,
not even then.
it's not going to happen.
No, there's just too many weird things cars do, and a lot of times it's just like the one thing people don't understand that happens. And I feel like people do, they just forget is that like cars have like peaks of when they'll pressurize or where they will resonate. And like what the RTA is also picking that up, but it doesn't know where the amplitude's coming from. It just says like, hey, there is amplitude here. Here's the sound pressure level of that, and it views it as an RTA, right? And cool,
Like 20 to 30 hertz.
yeah,
and
but it's just
very...
but then you do sweeps, and it's just like, and here's the cabin pressurizing, and here goes away. And like, those are the things that you have to like pick apart, especially on the low end, to like get things to be linear, so you do have that invisible bass. And at the end of the day, the reason I was able to take it to this level was because the install was solid. You know, like if the install wasn't, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do this level of tune on it, because the car will limit me at some point. You know, even to a point where like I was like, dude, there's something wrong with your left mid bass, and I was like, we have time, take it out. And he did. He took it out, and there was a couple things wrong with it. So he went in there, he fixed it, he put it back, and it was some weirdness. Like it almost seemed like it was like it had a huge leak in it. But like we verified, like there's no leak. I was like, that's just the way your car is presenting it. Then you move your head 6 inches forward, or more like 10 inches forward. All of a sudden, it's like a completely different presentation. I was like, oh, okay, I understand what's happening here. Like that's your car. So now I just gotta like manipulate it to make left and right to the ears make sense.
Yep.
Because if not, your ears will tell you where it's at. Like our ears are very good at figuring out where things are at,
especially in the low end.
Yeah,
it's like it sticks out like a thumb,
and it just pulls. What were your other questions?
I got one more question for you. Is so. As a truck owner, and as probably one of the most popular platforms, I'm assuming you tune.
Yeah.
Two-part again is what do you see as the most common mistake people do with truck builds, and where do you see traditionally the greatest opportunity for people to improve in a truck?
All right, I think the biggest issue, or like, this is going to be so generic. Hold up. Let me actually think here. Because like the very first thing, all right, I'm just going to speak. The very first thing that comes to mind is just sound deadening. Here we go again. Oh, Lord. I don't know why I don't own Resonix, because this is bad. Like I'm getting nothing from this. Love you, Nick. But like not deadening your roof. In a large truck. True. Not doing the rear. All those, it's just in a truck. There is like, even though the cabin in a truck isn't small, like a lot of people think the cabin's small. It's not small. It's just relative to where the sub is, because simply it's in the trunk. But the cabin itself inside is massive.
Like when I think about how far away the actual end of my dash is relative to like Ian's car today.
Yeah. This is a huge vehicle, and you have a lot of metal. And like that, just like
it's a drum.
Yes, and it just like no matter what you do, it's just like the car will not shut up, and there's nothing you can do because it's literally the vehicle or the whole roof is resonating. Same thing with the very back panel.
Yep.
One of my customers down in Florida, David Kearney, like hopefully I said your last name, bro, correctly. But you know that was one of the big things. Like he bought an F-150. He was like, dude, you have to den this thing. Like if you don't, with all the aluminum and all, like it's not gonna work out. So like just do that. And another thing is like they love putting these huge drivers in the doors, 8-inch Utopias, Karma 6x9s, pick your poison, Morelli Lake Carbon 9s, and do the most like asinine deadening.
Oh, it's
put a stick of hush mat on there and call it a day. And I'm like, this is not gonna work. And like that goes with like every car. Like finally Ian's car doesn't rattle anymore.
No, it's solid.
At volume, it just stays put together. And he spent so much, dude. I hounded Ian on sound. I'm like, dude, you gotta keep going. It's not good enough. And like I did the same thing with you, did the same thing with BJ, and now with Ian. And like the consistent thing across the board is once you deaden it right, out of nowhere you have mid bass.
Oh, it was. I remember doing my I've had my roof done for a while now.
Yeah.
And because I remember I had some conversation with Nick about it. I was like, well, was it worth doing the headliner? He's like, do you have a sunroof? I was like, no. He's like, drop the headliner now.
Yeah.
And yeah, that like I don't even care if you don't have a sound system. Like how much road noise reduction. Like if you're in any inclement weather, like if you've ever been in like rain in a truck, whether you're parked or driving, you know that it sounds like a snare drum above you, and it just like the fatigue that goes away. Like front doors, obviously, if you have mid bass, to me is always like number one. You got to treat that. But to me, in a truck, number two, 100% fully agree, is headliner. It just like I was talking about earlier about this stigma of truck bass. One of the big reasons for why it has a stigma usually is it's out of control. It kind of like runs away from you because like you said, the car doesn't shut up, and I feel like the roof and then like you said, the back wall are just like these giant
just like rings, like just metal drums.
Yeah, exactly. It like just decays in the wrong way.
Yeah. It just like it continues lingering. So when you want the bass to end, it won't end. And unfortunately, you know, they're gonna be, because of the length of the vehicle, those mid bass nulls. You know, I've tuned several trucks where, you know, I have boosted and pushed mid basses close to the limit to try to alleviate a lot of that kind of like mid bass suck out that you get in trucks. And Peter did the same thing, you know, when you're on the doors. And it does make a huge difference. Like when you know how to like tune the doors to like make it do what you want, you need a high quality driver, because if not, they'll bottom out quickly. But like if you have a quality driver, like you have the Utopia 8s, and like it will at least sound much better than what most people think you can do.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, like when I tuned Kelly Beards, it was just like, I cannot, these are 9-inch mid bass, and like it almost seems like I had like a 2-inch. Like it just wouldn't give it to me. I'm like, I know what these things can do. And it was just like this humongous hole from essentially 100 to 200. You know, they had some couple peaks, but like that was it. And I'm like, there's nothing you can do. It just is what it is.
It seems to not matter what, like pretty much every crew cab truck. The only time that I've seen it actually be okay was the double cab version of these trucks. I think it's just like from the Schroeder frequency because of the cabin length. The driver's null is like tiny compared to the crew cab version of the trucks, and we had also put in a 6x9 instead of an 8. But it was really interesting. I remember measuring it the first time and being like, I was upset that his mid bass was, it was like a super value system, like GS 690 Audio Frog, GS 25s in the front, and a P6 secondhand P6 MK2, and I was like, your mid bass is better than my truck that I've spent hundreds of hours trying to figure out.
Dude, and it happens. Whoever owns the newer style F-150s and F-250s and 350s, those are actually phenomenal. I don't know what Ford did, because the older ones were not like this, but that mid-range location...
Is it still up?
It is. So the mid-range, the mid-bass, like they're great.
Interesting.
They're honestly great. And like, if anyone's worth their salt in tuning, you will have solid upfront mid bass without even a question, with great imaging, because the mid range is perfect distance from the windshield, because they're in the dash. And they're just great. And the tweeter location, a lot of people think the tweeters have to be facing up at you a certain way to like image. It's not the way audio works. Like they're facing down, it's fine. Once you would notice that
they're kind of like in the pillar a little bit.
Yeah, kind of like angled down. So it just seemed like they were just like trying to do. It seemed like to me a little bit of reflection control with the windshield on them. But you would notice, because that dash reflection, that one, they disperse pretty evenly on both sides because it just hit the dash. But two, there's a lot of free gain there that you just take away. So your tweeter's barely doing any work, and it honestly presents a very nice soundstage. I mean, it's nothing like this truck, but like for doing nothing,
for an
OEM
like
style look,
like save yourself a lot of work. If you're into like high end audio and you don't have brand loyalty,
Yeah.
I'm hearing buy a new gen.
Yeah, they were
F
really
platform.
good. Yeah. I mean, better than the Dodge, which
Which is
crazy.
always was considered
Is
kind
always
of
considered like the best one, but
in the current gen.
to me,
Yeah.
what the new F-150s are doing is actually it's working for me. Don't get me wrong, the Dodge is still really nice, but like,
I remember after you tuned that truck for like 2 weeks, you're like, man, next vehicle, I'm buying a Raptor.
oh yeah. I tuned Greg Rob's Raptor, and I'm just like, how? Because it was like the MSC system. It was all ran off of one V18 with
Oh, yeah,
a
that's
Helix, the K something K10 I think subs with the 4 voice coils, so you can like really load up.
Oh,
the
yeah,
V18.
yep.
And then like the MSC Blam system, like nothing crazy. And it was just like, it was so good, and I'm just like, what is happening? Like, it was the first time I hopped in a truck
For like a fully plug and play
for just
system.
plug and play with one
Yeah,
thing, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I was like, I wonder how far I could take it. And then that's why for like a month I was like, I'm getting me a Raptor. And I actually almost bought one too, but I'm glad Bree stopped me from doing that. That would have been very bad financially for no reason. I do not need a Raptor. But to go back to your question, one thing I see people doing good, using stock locations, I guess. A lot of times they kind of truck people want the outside to be flashy, but it almost seems like the inside they don't want it to be.
That's a really good observation, actually.
Yeah, they like keeping the inside kind of like OEM style, but the outside could be like running boards and lifts and all that. But the inside they want to kind of chill.
But God forbid we put a hole in an A-pillar.
Yeah. Like we can't delete a grab handle. We can't have that. But no, like I think that's one really good thing. Though the thing with trucks that I think people need to realize is that the sound stage is going to be presented very differently than a car and SUV because how wide it is. So immediately you're going to think like, oh my gosh, like this is the widest thing I've ever seen in my life. But in reality, if you look at it objectively, it's not, because it's still pillar to pillar. Just the vehicle itself is wide, which a lot of times ends up happening when you don't have your tweeters in correctly. Is that like to get proper focus is like next to impossible if the install's not done right, because the vehicle is just so wide, especially like in some of the Rams when you put the tweeters in the sails, they'll produce a nice wide ambient image, but to get that tweeter to like become this like invisible thing right in the center, it just doesn't want to happen. I'm not saying it's impossible. I've made it happen almost every time, but it's like it is such a pain. Like you're going back and forth just to find that one spot where if you just like lock your head in the vise, it all clicks. But in this truck, because your tweeter's in the correct position for this truck, that was cake.
Yeah, that definitely used to be a really tough thing. And all the previous orientations before this, I always found left of center and center to have like really odd bleeding. But it's been like the past few tunes, and since this orientation's come in, seems to have really worked and doesn't fight you. And like I can kind of do this in the head, especially with the equipment you use is. Yeah, it's much friendlier than I've had. Like I always. Like there's definitely a point of no return. Like when you move when you move 8 inches away from the headrest and ahead of the B pillar. Just don't do that if you're ever in my truck, please. I'm gonna punch you in the head. Make sure this head stays back here. But no, once you're in here, and you're past the B pillar, it's actually really friendly, which is nice because I tend to like get in my truck and I lock up. I'm like, okay, I found the spot. I'm not moving. But now I'm like, all right, I can bob my head, listen to my music, and it's like, and I'm not watching the image kind of move around. It's just. Boom.
Yeah, it's just where it's supposed to be. But I have a question for you. What was the main difference you heard? Because, we played a few songs. I don't know, we probably played like 30 songs by now. What was the main difference you would say that like you have now that you didn't have before with my tune? Minus the bottom end. Because like, no one's touched the bottom end except for me.
Yeah.
Anything stand out? It doesn't have to.
No. There's two things.
Yeah.
The first is definitely staging. Like if you were to take my driver's side staging and it was an accordion, you kind of just like all of a sudden it's went whoop, and it became the same depth size. Like I always felt like I had like a trapezoid shaped stage, and where it was very tight driver side and like more depth was available on the passenger side. And I feel that's fairly common for a lot of vehicles, but whatever like that you did in the tuning, the attention drawn to the left side is far less, which creates so much more space in it. That to me, like obviously like the phase cohesion is like very, very noticeable, which also allows for like this presentation to be all together and all in completely in front of you. And like that's number one. Number two is your approach to tonality and how completely linear it is. Notably, both the very top end and the very low end, you have a way to make bass always appropriate, never overwhelming, but never not present. Which at low volumes it's really hard to get that relationship to be successful on both sides of the volume knob.
Well, the install helps, so thanks for that, Luke.
And then the top end, I've always been a sucker for
Detail.
as much detail as you can give me without it hurting. I want it. I think obviously most people are probably that way, but I'm like always favoring riding that line.
So what exactly do you mean by that? For the people who don't understand, like what is detail? Like, are we talking about 200 hertz? Like what are
I am talking like
more like 12K.
Yeah, 10K. I'm talking like 8K up. Like this, call it the brilliance, the air, this like
to sparkle.
Yeah, exactly. Like it makes a really strong impression on you if it's done correctly.
The high res.
And yeah, it's exactly. It's like the high res part of the frequency range. And I used to always kind of really chase to have as much resolution in that area as I could without kind of causing pain. And
we're throwing around so many SQ words. Resolution, air, sizzle. Let's just keep it going. Baked beans.
But what you did with it is it's very different because there's a different level of realism and believability to the top end. I remember this was like sitting in front of your home audio system, your Rebels. That changed my perception of how that should be. Because I was sitting there like, I'm like, okay, listen to the first like song or two, and I'm like, all right, come on, hit me with that top end. Like I want to hear like I want it to bite at me a little bit. And
you want sparks to be flying off that tweeter.
Exactly. But then you take away those expectations, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, wow, I'm hearing different things in like the upper mid range that were getting masked, or like because I was getting too much attention called to the very top end. And yeah, I think your balance of how you treat tonality at the very top end leaves all the room for the details still. But it's also one really, really friendly to listen to all of the time. But it's to me, there is something about how you approach that that has changed my perception of how I want to listen to detail. And because this has the detail, but it's like doesn't have to be in your face to get it.
It's kind of like bass.
It's
a lot
exactly.
of people want that slam impact, just like raw aggressive, bottom end. And then when you initially hear linear, you're like, oh, there's not enough. And then you start like really uncovering, that's when like true texture and tone comes out. And a lot of people like, honestly, it wasn't until late last year where like I finally realized that in a car you can actually have true texture and tone like you can in a home. Like I always thought it was just like you get as close as you can, you call it a day. But like no, like once you dial in the linearity between all three, and then this sub-woofer mid-bass in this vehicle configuration, like once you do that, all of a sudden you the negative space becomes more defined. And that's one thing that, like, I love seeing people's reaction when they realize, like, oh crap, like that's actually a cello up on, you know, the cowl of my hood.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, wow, like that Barry sax actually has true bottom end weight. And if you play Bird on a Wire and you hear the toms, and it's like, man, is that front? Are any subs even on? And then you mute it, and all of a sudden it just like disappear. Like, oh no, they're on. It's just like completely disappeared. It's just a cool experience to like let other people have.
Absolutely.
You know, and like the top end, like you said, like it's the same thing. You know, if you always are pushing 8 through 16K to get that detail, you're just going to continue drawing attention to the tweeter. You know?
Oh yeah, I think that's it's a big factor of the driver's side presentation of this vehicle is that how you approach top end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And the detail's there. I mean,
oh yeah,
you start getting drums, snares, attack, snaps, anything you can think of, female vocals, air extension, like it's all 100% there. It's just not overemphasized. It's just, it blends in. It sounds...
it comes live when it needs to.
Yeah.
Not when you
want it to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I mean...
Shall we go get some sleep?
Yeah, let's do that. Dude, thanks for letting me tune your truck.
It was an absolute pleasure, man.
I appreciate it, dude.
I'm so glad. Thank you for
fun.
coming up.
Yeah, dude.
And
what time is it? Oh, it's
12.
almost 1 in the morning. Look at that.
If you're in Pennsylvania, April 19th, HVR in New York, June 7th, that weekend, SVR, July 19th, something like that. And then I host an event in Maine on August 9th. If you're in any of those areas, hit me up. Happy to throw a demo. Or if you're going to the events, come knock on the window, come find me. Always love giving demos. If I'm talking with someone, you want to hop in my truck and listen, it's all yours. People should come hear what he did to this because it's freaking awesome.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Well, all right, y'all. Well, that was this video, over an hour long. Till the next time. Bye, y'all.
See you guys.